Greetings, just thought I'd do a bit of an update on what my thoughts are about the dairy industry, because obviously Fonterra have come out with a huge profit and everybody was sitting there thinking, well, yeah, okay, what's going to happen to that profit? They've sort of sneaked out the fact that they are going to be offering, they think, a better payout, around about sort of the mid $4 instead of the $3.85 that they were predicting. But it's interesting that we still don't really know what their thinking is or what is really likely to happen. The other thing is it going to go across the board? Is it going to go to the shareholders first as a dividend or as an extra price, or is it going to be spread evenly between they and the share milkers? That leads you straight on to, of course, the fact that the farmers, shareholders, get a 50-cent advance on their milk fats, whereas the share milkers don't. Almost a little bit uneven there, one would have thought, because let's face it, if you didn't have the share milkers in this industry, you wouldn't have an industry. In the meantime, as other companies are saying, well, we're being straight up and down here, we're telling you this is what's going to happen and we are paying more than Fonterra. So are there a lot of farmers and share milkers who are now going to say, well, wouldn't we be better to sell our shares, perhaps even on the open market from Fonterra, and go and join Westland or Sydney or anybody else? Interesting times as far as the industry is concerned. The other interesting thing is the amount of positivity, and yes, there is positivity. Talking to some farmers, they will say, for example, that they are going to, from now on, do all their budgets on $3.80. If they get $4.60, they're still going to do their budgets on $3.80. They're still going to run their operations on $3.80 or the equivalent. So therefore, any gap between $3.80 and $4.60, that goes into debt restructuring or goes into whatever development that the farm needs. So yeah, the dairy industry is a long way away from being out of the woods yet, but at least for some, there's a bit of dappled shade. The other good news is that spring has arrived. We've had a miserable winter for most parts of New Zealand. North Island, of course, has had lots of serious flooding, and now things look as though they're settling down. And people such as Jim Grierson agree with me that we are going to have a very even spring, and as long as we don't get too many nasty nor'westers and or frosts, the horticultural scene should be very, very good. However, on the other side of it, we've got cropping, and that's another story, as the cropping farmers, I'm afraid, are being whacked around the head again. But just a few thoughts on where we are at.